Hello, people. How you guys doing?
I'm okay, sir.
Okay, I guess you're speaking for yourself. Everybody else tired? This has tend to be the tired people class. Nobody not tired?
Sir, explain me. Do we have to download those software or can we use what's available on our laptops?
Well, you don't have to, but if you have an equivalent software, as long as you can achieve the same results, you should be fine.
Okay, great.
Right. However, let me see. Everybody here have WinZip or WinRAR, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think so. I think it's there.
Right. WinZip or WinRAR are like pretty popular software that any typical person using a computer should have. So I believe anybody from CSA should have a Darktable or equivalent or a DaVinci Resolve or equivalent. So as long as you have the equivalent, you're good to go. Okay. Well, guess what? I don't think this session would be long, but this session will be packed. That's the thing. If you want to be familiar with some of the things that we're going to talk about, it's a good idea to install the programs. You can always watch the video when we are done as per usual. But as you know, you can't ask the video questions. So it's a good idea if you can follow along so that you can ask questions. As in the first session, persons were following along, but there were some things that they needed to get accomplished, but it was looking a little different on their screen and they were able to ask some questions in order to get those stuff done. So I encourage you to try to follow along if you can. Okay, let me just straighten this thing here. Yeah. All right, good. So what are we doing today? We're going to talk about post-production, and we are still on the topic of the physical camera. And our main activity for today is I want to try as much as possible to simulate what you guys will be doing for your third assignment, which is the physical camera assignment, and to demonstrate some benefits, especially for architectural photography and videography. Additionally, as I think the stars are aligned with you guys because you are going on your study tour. So I think this class is perfectly suited for the study tour because you're going to be needing to capture images and videos. Some of those images and videos, you're going to have to publish them, meaning that I see your hand, Kennedy, I'm coming to you. When I say publish, meaning that you're going to have to create a presentation or maybe do some kind of study tour presentation. So whatever video or images you're collecting, they're going to have to be, well, what's the word? Up to scratch, which means you're going to have to integrate some of the things that we learned in the previous weeks, composition, rules of composition and cinematic camera angles and all of those things. So I think this class can be a nice prep class. Kennedy, what's up?
So I was going to say, as you know, I'm in third year and like I'm not really sure what's going on from my study tour. Like we're supposed to be going to Mobile, but I'm not exactly sure if we're still going. So
Yeah, man, that's no problem. Remember that the assignment 3 is not linked to your study tour. But what I did was I suggest that if you have to take a photo for computing class, take a photo that can also be used for studio and computing class. Two birds, one stone. So you can link them. You can link them if you really want to. And if it's not really compatible, then don't worry about it. All right?
Okay, sir.
Okay, doke. Alrighty.
Before you move on, are those links that are on the mirror board? Can I download the DaVinci one from there? Because when I click the one in the email, it downloads a Darktable as well. And when I click,
my bad. I think I gave you the wrong link. So yeah, I repaired that. So it's the right link that is in the present in the on the mirror board, and also it is on the class website as well. All right. So any one of those you can use. All right. Okay. So the idea for today's class is I want to talk a little bit about post-production. There is a method by which you use to produce architectural presentations, right? And we're going to go into the steps a little bit further down into the course, where we're going to talk about pre-production, production, and post-production. However, we're just going to focus a little bit on post-production, because as you realize, for your physical camera assignment, you guys have to put, you're going to have to take some video clips, and you're going to have to put the video clips together. So you're going to have to edit them together, all right? So I think it's a good time to kind of discuss what are the best programs for doing that. Now, we have any Mac people in the house? Mac fans? Who is that? Bonita, I think you're a Mac person, right?
Yeah, so I'm worried about like getting the Darktable because not.
No, man, don't worry. There's a Mac version. Don't worry. I'm not leaving out Mac people. Yeah, so don't worry. As long as nobody is not Linux, then we're fine, because I don't have any links for Linux.
Okay.
All right. So when you're in Mac, usually when you preview an image in Mac, it is normally, I think it's what, Apple Photos or so forth. That's what it previews in. I haven't used Mac in a while.
Something called Preview, like the application is called Preview.
Right. And for those of us who have Windows, whenever we double click at least Windows 10, it comes up in a Windows photo viewer or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I have some sample photos here. So whenever you open a photo, and I'm just kind of clicking on a random photo here. Here we go. So this is an example of the Windows photo viewer. And usually there's some way to rotate the photo. There's usually some way to crop, you know. Come on. You get the idea. And usually there are some filters, and then there's adjustments. You can make things bright and dark and add a little vignette, and you know, some nice little, I guess I could call this Instagram-ish kind of effects, instant effects, which are great, and they're useful for general use. However, you guys that are more on the professional side of things, you're going to need access to programs that are a bit more robust than these programs. By the way, did you guys know that Windows has a video editor built in? Anybody ever mess with it yet?
I did. I was like 7, 8 years old on my dad's computer. It was I was trying to make like a movie of like Naruto pictures, but it actually is, it's decent, but it's kind of awful in today's sense. But it got the job done.
Exactly. And actually, I'm quite impressed by how simple it is. A couple of weeks, maybe no, like last year, I remember during the summer, I was teaching my son how to use the video editing app. And I was like, hey, this is kind of cool because it's built in. Enata, you have a question?
Yeah, so my phone is quality is not so good, but I have access to a phone camera that is much better. So I'm wondering for this assignment if I should use the one my phone or use the one that I have access to. But the thing is, I put my phone on the equipments that I have from the first class. We had to put our equipments. So I'm wondering which
Right.
one I should use.
Well, you can use, okay, the one that ideally, guys, the one that you want to pick is the one that have video stabilization, whichever one is closer to that, and the one that has some kind of mode where you can put the phone to manual. Remember recently we spoke about how you can control like the brightness where the phone is not doing it for you. So if one of your devices can better have more options, I guess that's what I'm saying. If it has more options, that's the one you want to pick. If it have video stabilization, that will help you out a lot in this assignment, and if it has some kind of manual-ish mode. Other than that, the quality is not really an issue because I don't need 2K, 4K images. HD is fine. Not even full HD, just regular 720 HD is fine. All right?
Okay, sir.
All right, so don't worry about the quality. It's really the features. And we're going to go into a little bit of that. A lot of what you guys will do in the coming future, chances are you're going to be using your phone, highly likely, or a phone or a camera or something. So we were speaking about video editing, and yes, so Windows has a video editor, which is, it's pretty nifty if you guys ever messed with it before. But for you guys that are in fourth year now, going into the professional world, if you're preparing a presentation for an architectural, whatever it is, and you need to take images, there is a quality level threshold that I'm hoping you guys will push beyond, right? On average, when you take an image, highly likely that image by itself is not ideal for publish. When I mean publish, meaning to stick on a presentation board or to present. Usually you want to go through some kind of post processing. The image is too bright, it needs to get dull and all of this stuff. So post processing is kind of where we're at now as it relates to this topic of the physical camera. So whenever you take an image or a video, the proper thing to do before you publish that video or image is to do some kind of post-processing. Now, the most basic type of post-processing that you can do is the ones that are included with an operating system. So for example, Apple, you have iMovie and you have the preview app, and Windows, you have the photo view and some editing app. These are the most basic. You need to go a notch above these, right? Definitely. Especially when you're talking about, commercial work or work that will represent your designs and these kind of things. So the two that I recommend, because it's 100% free, is DaVinci Resolve and Darktable. Now, of course, there is Adobe. Adobe has this area lock, right? Most of you know about Premiere Pro, After Effects. Everybody knows about Photoshop as it relates to a post-processing environment for images. Anybody ever heard of or used Lightroom.
Yeah, I tried it once, but just to like play with lighting for images and so on. But I don't think I'm that good at it.
Same, sir. Like, really, it's not like,
All right.
I don't think I'm that way.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to use.
Well, no worries. We're going to break that barrier today, definitely. And perhaps most people have used some kind of video editing program, maybe Premiere, some probably as far as After Effects, and maybe some just use Windows Editor. So today, what these two software that I'm introducing to you are at the, I would say, professional level for what you guys will be doing. Now, you can always use the Adobe version, or the there's, for example, Sony Vegas Pro, there is Final Cut Pro, there's all these other versions.
There's
that you
Filmora.
can... Say again?
Filmora is a good one too. Filmora, like Wondershare Filmora.
Okay, cool. See, I didn't
that
even
one's
know
nice.
that one. Right. There is Luminar. There is Raw. There's a bit out there. Some of them are free. Some of them cost money, right? Which sometimes is a little tricky. You might be in an environment where you need to go into a firm, and the firm doesn't have or don't plan to purchase, and you need to use a free equivalent. That's why I think it's important that you guys know of these have these under your belt. Now, we're going to look very briefly on both of them. This is not going to be a tutorial that goes in depth in using them, but just some architectural tips that I think you guys will definitely need, especially for study tour, and to also complete this third assignment, right? So I want to start with a question here. And I don't know if you guys managed to test out some camera angles. Remember, I was requesting that you guys go outside and just capture something one day randomly, just to see what it's like to do some of those techniques that we spoke about last class. The ninja walk. Who remembers the ninja walk? We do?
I do, sir. It's harder than it looks.
Exactly. That's what I was telling some persons in the first class, that it looks really easy in theory. But when you try to hold that camera steady, it's just like, man. There's also some tips in terms of taking photos using the rules of composition as it relates to architecture that I want you guys to have under your belt. So I went outside, I did my activity, and I went outside to practice the ninja walk, and I also took some photos. I actually used this playground that's in a common area in the complex that I am, and I use this playground as a kind of guinea pig to test out all of these things. It was a sunny day, so that's great. Luckily. Now, I want to ask you this question. So let's say that you're out. You might be wondering, what is this diagram that's that's over here? And essentially, what I was asking is, if you're capturing a piece of architecture, maybe it's an elevation, it's a building, it's a playground, it's some kind of structure, whatever it is, a piece of architecture. If the sun is coming in at this angle, what would be the best angle at which you should take a video or an image to capture that architecture? Now, I know there's a lot of variance here. So we're not really considering where's the front of the building, the back of the building, and we're just isolating those details. And it's just about asking, based on this object and the direction of the sun, what would be the best angle of which to capture an image or a video of this piece of architecture? And what we have is a little voting system here. If you're able to manipulate Miraboard, you can just put your name beside which angle, right? Just because something is popular don't mean that it is correct. So you might see some names here from the earlier session. So what I want you guys to do is to vote. I want to spend like 5 minutes and we can talk about it a little bit. Some of you can explain to me why you would choose that angle. But think about when you go on a site, you go outside and you want to capture this building. It could be an interesting building you want to add to your portfolio. It could be a context for your site. It could be for your study tour and you need to capture an image of this historic building. You know, just imagine some scenarios that you would need to go out there and capture images. What angle would be the best angle for you to capture that image? Everybody is on the mirror board. I see some people. I see 4 people, 5 people. I'm counting, 6 people. Lovely. All you have to do is write your name. Okay, so Bonita has chosen C.
Excuse me, sir. I missed what you said. Can you repeat what we're supposed to do on the mirror board?
Right. What we're doing, we're voting on the best angle to capture this piece of architecture. It could be a structure. Based on the sun angle, what would be the best angle to take an image or a video? So those names that you're seeing were from the discussion earlier today. You can ignore Maya's own because she kind of made up the rules. She was like, she couldn't decide, so she put an arrow in the middle. So that's actually illegal. So I'm going to put Maya maybe over this side by just random selection.
So I can't have 2 answers.
Okay, you can. Yes, you can.
Thank
You can
you.
have 2 answers. All right. I see Kalena is going with G. And I see Shaina is going along with C. All right. I see Bonita has 2 answers, but no more than 2 answers.
Oh my God, how dare you? I was just about to put a 3rd one.
Sir, I see why Maya put her own arrow there because I would have done the same thing too.
Right, but unfortunately, there's no in between here. There's no letter in between A and B. It's A or B. All right. All right. All right, Shaina, you have selected B. Diane, you have selected the sun. I don't know. You're selecting A. The sun is not an option. Who else is choosing now? Enata, you have selected G. Okay, cool. All right, so all bets are in, I believe. So nobody's selecting D, E, and F.
Sir, can you wrong, sir? It was wrong. There's no way.
All right, so let's start hearing some reasoning now. Let's start with Kalena. So why have you selected G?
Because the sun still somewhat hits that side, but not as direct. So you'd have it's not diffuse light, but it's not as direct lighting, and I prefer 1-point perspective.
Oh, okay. All right. So you prefer 1-point perspective and you don't want the sun to hit directly. Okay, cool. Diane, why have you chosen to go in the sun? I assume that you're choosing A, but you put your name in the sun.
So aside, I mean that was just for jokes. But
I know.
a reason why I chose I chose B really. And the reason why I chose B, I was studying between B and G, which one? But
between B
with
and
B, G. I didn't choose G,
oh.
but yes, Maya, I could see you circling me around the sun. So yeah, the reason why I chose B instead of G is because with B, say you're taking the image, right? I didn't choose A because your shadow might be affecting the image you're taking, depending on how far away it is. And then B now, your shadow wouldn't be affecting the image. But with G, while you're taking the image, like some of the glare of the sun might affect your eyes, but B, the glare of the sun wouldn't really.
So you are really B then. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, B.
All right,
yeah.
cool. And hold on, but Enato, how you have G? Okay, yes, you can get two. You can get two. So you're perfectly legal. So Enato, why have you selected C and G?
Well, directly from the sun, I would say it's wrong because you can have a glare on your phone, and looking at the image on your phone can cause bad decisions. So C and G would provide the right amount of lighting to the building. You will get some sharp shadows, and also the reason I'm between G and C is that G is directly straight 1 point perspective, while C is a 2 point perspective. So I think those two would.
Those two are the best. Okay, cool. Cool. Bonita, you have selected C and B. Why is that?
Well, I don't think it should be on the direct sunlight path. And I always like photographs of architecture where the light is like hitting the building at an angle, and you see like the little light coming through the trees and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would say B is a good shot for C, but not B. I don't know about G. I think G and B kind of give you the same effect, just from a different side. So
okay, true. All right, we have Abigail that selected A. Hold on, Abigail is in this group, or that is from earlier? That is from earlier. Who else? Walker, Kennedy. You have selected A. So what is the reason for your selection of A? No, Walker, you there? No. Oh, Rhea has just come in. Okay, Rhea, you are okay. Who else? Kennedy, Walker. That is from this morning's class. Abigail Jr. Okay. So basically, most of this group has selected between C, B, G. Okay. All right. Good enough. Okay. So from any random person, which shot do you believe would be the absolute worst shot?
Third.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
E,
Maya.
E would be the absolute worst shot, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay, that's fair enough. All right. So, based on your answers, for those of you who selected the best shots, that would be actually C and F. Right? G is okay. B is okay, if that's your preference.
Okay, well, that's so. Oh, I do have my name by C, so I guess I still win a prize.
Sir, I want to know why F.
What I'm going into it. Most, as a matter of fact, you guys told me the answer to that question, because those of you who chose B, they say, oh well, B and G is really the same thing. It's just from different angles. That's why I agreed to saying that you can have more than one answers. So if somebody selected C and F, then I would say, yeah, they're double right. C and B, they're like 85% right. I mean, B is okay actually, right? But perhaps the most premium shot that you can get would be C and F. Now, I'm not talking about, remember, you know, we haven't defined what this architecture is. It could be a sculpture and maybe the angle at B or A is the best view for the sculpture. You know, who knows? Maybe there's a river where A is, so there, where C and F is, so there's no way you can take a shot from there. So hence you have to end up taking a shot from A. There are all of these possibilities, but we're not, it's not really about the best view for the building, because this building is generic. We don't know what it looks like. Why I'm really asking this question is as it relates to a technical point of view having to do with your camera and exposure and taking an image, not necessarily the architecture. Yes, the architecture will have a part to play depending on the building that you're taking, but we're just taking that out of the situation, the calculation for now. Now, the second absolute worst shot would be A, right? And I like the reasoning that some of you said. Most of you gave okay reasonings for why A would not be a good shot. For the general consensus I got from it is that a nicer C would give you a nicer shot. From a technical point of view, A and E poses a serious challenge for any camera that you're going to use to take that shot. This is apart from the architecture. I'm just focusing on the technical aspects of this, right? Now, what I want to show you, I have taken some shots here and I might have got some of them a little bit mixed up. So I guess you guys can help me to figure out which one is which again. Okay, so here we go. Now I'm going to show you some shots here. Now this shot of this building in this playground will actually be E, right? Which is Mayan's favorite angle, right, Mayan? So anyway, now it's not really about the angle, you know. As we said, we're not talking about the architecture, right? We're really talking about that from a technical point of view. And what I want to highlight is this is the technical issue with this shot. No matter what camera you have, but even worse, if you have a phone, this area here and this area here are two extremities. One area is very dark, and the color of the object in the dark area is also a dark color, which means that it is absorbing light. Then the area in the bright area is also a bright color, which means it is reflecting light. So then, apart from the fact that you have an area that is facing the sun, you also have a situation where the area facing the sun is boosting the amount of light, and the area that is not in the sun is further absorbing more light. And what happens is that the camera cannot expose everything in this far range. One is almost black and one is basically white. So somewhere along the line, you're going to lose information, right? Now, another interesting thing about this shot is that these areas look nice, right? Because they are nicely lit, and those areas would be in shadow, right? Now, take a look at this other view here now. Let me try and see which one of these views it is. I'll open this one. I think it's this one. This shot is called 0025. Ah, here we go. All right. Now, if we take a look on this shot, let's put them side by side. This one, right. Now, when you take a look at this, look at all the details that is lost in this white. I mean, all of this, you have a lot of architectural expressions happening here. For, you know, you have the horizontal members, you have this little corner wood here, post or stud that casts a little shadow because it is on a different level. Then you have the window area here. Notice it's a different material. So there's a lot happening in this elevation here, but all of that detail is totally lost when you look at this shot. You guys can see that?
Yeah.
So apart from the camera struggling to achieve a technical balance, you're also losing the architecture because the word is overexposed, whilst some parts of the image is also underexposed. Now, the areas that are underexposed in the image on the left, which is for this image, you know, it might, in this case, it's the playground, so maybe the playground isn't that important, but it could be something that is of importance that would be now underexposed. Now, the image on the right seems okay, that it is maybe more balanced, you know, but then no, look what happens in this area here. All right. Now, this side here that is overexposed, you know, this in this shadow, in this dark area, in the area and shade, it's nicely lit. But then what do you notice in this area and shade here? I don't know if you can see it clearly. Let me increase the quality of the screen share. Give me 1 minute. Yeah. All right. The screen share should be at a better quality now. Can you see it?
Is it very dark?
Not necessarily dark. That's not the problem.
The quality is less. It's grainy.
Grainy. That's the word I'm looking for. Another technical term would be noise. Now, what noise means in computer world is lack of information. So think of it this way, that for every other pixel, the computer don't know if that area should be 5% bright, 10% bright, 20% bright. So it just guesstimates a pixel for every other pixel. So that's how you end up with grain, because everywhere there is a grain is where the computer is not I would say the camera, the photo sensor is guessing what is happening in that area. So whenever an image gets too dark, the sensor has to do more guessing, and more guessing equal noise. So the image on the left, less guessing. That's why inside this shadow, inside this area and shade is nicely lit. And right, it has to do a lot of guessing. Now, when you zoom out of this image, remember what I'm saying here goes for both image and video, right? When you zoom out of this image, you can, and you take in the elevation on a whole, yes, you can experience the architecture. However, this entire region here is really in shade. And because it is in shade, the computer, the photo sensor is doing a large amount of guessing. It's like it's saying, okay, let me, you know, what's happening here, and, you know, how much green is supposed to be here, how much brown is supposed to be here. It's like it's guessing, right? Whereas in this side, it's screaming, right? You ever hear when somebody scream and to how high they go, you can't make out what they're saying. So that's kind of what's happening here. it's collecting so much light that the photo sensor cannot read what is the level of brown, what is the red, the level of yellow. So it's just blowing out everything. So in one instant, not enough information. In the other instant, too much information, it's blown out. Now, you know, we haven't even talked about the camera angle yet. And, you know, is this... Yeah, question?
Oh, no, I was talking to someone else.
Oh, all right. So on top of that, now we haven't even discussed about the, you know, the view. Like, does this view make this building architectural design shine? Does it communicate the concept of the building? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, we haven't even layered that those questions on top of this information. But we're not considering those yet. We're looking at it from a mainly technical standpoint. Now I'm going to show you another image now, and let's see now, which one is that one? I think it is this one here. It's not that one. It's not that one. It is, I think it's this one. Oh, no. Let's skip through until I find it. Oh, it's going through the videos too. Oh Lord. All right. Let me just find it manually. And I guess I should have really filtered them. Aha, I think I found it. All right. Yes, it's this one. Now, let's take a look on this image here now. Now, this image would represent C or F, right? And let's compare to see what's happening here. Now, there are some areas, for example, these areas that are bright, and there are some areas that are dull. Like, look at this area. This is dull here, but then this area here is bright. Now we are retaining some of the information for the design of the building, like the fact that it has the shiplap wood, then it has the stud here, the area around the window. There's another interesting design here. So these are design elements that are still being maintained because the image is not being totally blown out. So let's compare. Let's compare these images, and we're gonna do 1, 2, and 3. 1 second. Okay, so if you look on these 3 images now, we can see one where the sun is directly pointing at the subject. This one where the sun is behind the subject, and this one where the sun is at an angle, right? So when the sun is at an, now of course, in architecture, we all love shadows. Shadows help to give definition. So obviously, this image here has more definition. Do we all agree on that much?
Yeah.
Right. Where the 2 images on the left don't have as much definition because it's either overexposed or not. Now, you know, as I say, nature doesn't necessarily work with you. So for example, you know, maybe it's just a day when the sun is at that angle and you can't go behind the building. There are a number of reasons why you might end up not being able to take a nice shot like what is here on the right. Now,
So
if you're ever... question?
Decrease the brightness in Lightroom, or like the exposure, sorry.
That is a good suggestion. But before you go into post-production, which means after the fact, after you have taken the photo, if it's the case where you had to travel to a far place like Mobi from Kingston, this would be when you have traveled 4 hours and went back to your computer. You don't want everything riding on when you go back to your computer. Now, there are a couple ways that you can identify where you can try to recover, especially if you don't have a choice but to take an image like this one or an image like this one. Now, I'm going to save. Let me see if I can do this for you guys. I want to save some of these shots and drop it on the mirror board. Here is one. And come on, where are you, mirror board? Let's see, 2. And okay, so this one is overexposed. Then we have this one, which is underexposed. So we want to get this shot here now. So I'm dropping these on the mirror board, guys, so you can take a look for yourself. And then we have this one here that is balance, like that. So those are the two that we have there. Okay. All right. Now let's say that you were in a situation where, you know, things not working with you. The sun is at an angle and you have no choice but to be dead on at the same angle of the sun, right? So for example, let's say if I look in my folder here, and here we have a bunch of images here. Now the next way how you can combat that is by taking shots at multiple exposure. So for example, let's see here. Okay, so look at this shot here. So this is one. Then let's look at this shot. This is 2. And then look at this shot, which is 3. All right, so notice that in this case, we have 3 different shots. They're showing the same thing. Remember, this was the one that was underexposed. This is showing the same thing. It's also in shade. Both of these are in shade. But notice what is happening here in the sky. And then this one, the brightness is turned up. Now remember how we spoke about being able to adjust your camera manually. Now, in the case where you have absolutely no choice, your building has to be in complete shade or be totally in the blazing direct sun. What you have to do is to capture multiple shots at different exposures. And you will have the lovely task of merging these together using Photoshop. Now, you can kind of merge them together with a program like Darktable, but in order to do that and avoid Photoshop, you're going to have a tripod. They're going to have to be at the exact same angle, meaning these are taken from the same angle, but obviously they're slightly shifted for everyone. That's because I'm taking the image with my hand, so my hand is actually shifting, slightly. So I would have to go into Photoshop to like, when I'm in Photoshop, what I would have to do, for those of you who are Photoshop veterans, is I would have to now not use this part of the image for that image, not use this part of the image for this image, and only use this part of the image for this image. You guys understand?
No, can you repeat that, please?
In a case where you have no choice, where you are getting either everything dark or everything bright. So for this image, if I try to take a picture of this with my camera, it's going to be, here is going to be dark in order for the sky not to be totally blown out. If I try to balance them, notice that the sky is blown out and here is kind of okay, but still too dark. For this image now, in here is the right brightness, but then everything else is totally blown out. The only way to not be in this situation is to move to a different angle or wait till a different time of day. But if you can't do neither one of those, then your solution is you have to take multiple pictures at different exposure levels. And then you're going to have to merge different parts of the image together. So for example, for this first image, this dark area is unusable because you can't see what's going on in here, but the sky is usable. So that's good. For this other image, the sky is a little bit too blown out, so that is bad. And then some of these areas, like this middle area here, is good, but down here is still too dark, so that's bad. And for this image, down here is perfect, but then, which is good, but everything else is too blown out.
But wouldn't it be a bit, that collage would be wonky, because if the first two balconies are one way and the bottom is another way?
Well, that's why I'm saying you have to take multiple shots at the same angle. So for example, some phones have like shot burst where it can take 5 pictures one time. So luckily you can take that without moving your hand that much. But if you take them all at the same angle, you should be able to Photoshop them. But this is not something that you want to do. That's why I'm saying, this is too much. This is going to be a lot of work. Because if you try to print the first image, it's going to be too dark. If you try to brighten the image, the sky going, it's like, so what you want to do is to try to just take a good shot from morning. You get me? But as I said, the world is not level. In some cases, you might not be able to do that. So this is perhaps your only fallback. All right, so let me take an image of this, and I'll also drop this on the mirror board as well. All right. Now, so that is some of the approaches that we have. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why would you use Darktable, and how does that help you out? Well, what Darktable is the nice middle ground. Darktable and Lightroom and Luminar, these programs is a middle ground between Windows Photo Viewer and Photoshop. Photoshop being the extreme, Windows Photo Viewer being the opposite. So lack of features. So you have a lot of programs that don't go into the amount of detail like Photoshop, but at the same time give you way more than just what a simple picture viewer would give you. All right. All right, so So what I have here is I took some images and some videos, right? And I'm gonna pick one of these images and we're gonna open this in Darktable to see what is so special about programs like Darktable and what's it called again? And Lightroom and these kind of nice middle ground photo editing programs. So I'm going to take one that where I went to a better angle. So this one I went to at an angle to get a nice balanced shot. So this would be like taking a shot from either C or F, right? Now I could take one from B, but I'm just talking in relation to the sun. So for example, in another situation where actually if the sun were going directly where B is going, then I would have moved my angle to C or A. You always want to be 90 degrees. Everybody see that? 90 degrees from the sun to get the best balance for your lighting. Any question, guys? Everybody understand where we are so far?
Yes, so I'm assuming that 90-degree thing is a rule, like a factual rule.
Like a?
It's a rule, like a photography, like rule thing.
It's more of a architectural recommendation. But guess what? Life is not that simple. I mean,
yes, sir.
It could be an overcast day. You know, it could be a 12 o'clock sun where the sun is directly on top. So how does that work? You know, I mean, there are so many things. It could be that you can't form a 90 degree because there's a tree blocking you, or it doesn't express the building properly. There's so many things that can prevent you from doing this. So it's more of an aim. If you're in a situation where you can get that, then nice. You will get some nice looking shots. Like where is that shot now? So like a shot like this where I think it's about 90 or maybe less, not quite sure, but it's maybe close to that. But you don't want to be in the same direction of the sun. Not only because your details of architecture will get lost, but also your camera cannot manage those extreme bright and dark areas coming at the photo sensor. Okay, so I'm gonna open some images in Lightroom. So in Darkroom. So let's fire up Darkroom now. So I'm gonna go here and go to dark. Darktable.
Oh.
And combining them together. All right. All right. So come on. All right. Now, when you open up Darktable, it might look something like this. And in Darktable, there are a few zones that you just need to be aware of, right? So you have a zone down here, down the bottom. That's where it previews your images. You have a zone on the left. That's where it shows you the statistics for the images that you have selected. The zone on the right, which is the most important zone, that is where you add effects to your image. And we're going to add a couple of effects to the image. And then you have these areas here at top, which switch between Lighttable and Darkroom. Now this is very similar to Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, but the terminologies are a little different. So when you open up Darkroom, you will be on the light table more likely by default. And the light table is where you throw all your images before you start to edit them. So what I would do when I'm on when I open up and I'm on the light table, I can either go to import, which is over here. Right, I could go to import to start to import my images. But that's a longer route. I would rather just drag and drop. So if I browse to where my images are, so here is my folder here. Hold on. Let me just let me go to type. And let me delete those. Oh no. All right. So these are my images here. And what I'm going to do is, let's say I want to choose that image that I looked at a while ago. So I think it is one of these, maybe this one. So I'm going to grab these three. Now notice when I go out in the field and take images, I take multiple shots of the same angle. So that's a good practice. And even better practice is to take them at different brightness levels, right? So usually you can't really get this if you put your phone or camera on auto, because auto is usually just going to, like, the camera decides how bright it is. It's always a good idea for you to switch to some kind of manual or option that allows you to make it, balance, a step darker and a step brighter. That are at minimum balance and brighter. Right? It's always a good idea to have multiple shots. Remember, when you go back in front of your computer and you start to look at your shots, a lot of times you discover, oh crap, it's too dark, and the site is 4 hours away, or you can't go there again. So sometimes you have to, what's the saying, measure twice, cut once. So it can't hurt to grab extra images, right? Everybody with me thus far?
Let's say.
All right. So in Darktable now, what I'm going to do is I want to select the image that I want to work on. So then I'm going to go to the darkroom. Now the darkroom is where you go to add effects to your image. So by clicking on darkroom now, oh, it says no image to open. So I need to select an actual image and go to darkroom. Right. So this is the image that I have selected. So this is basically what the main interface looks like. And you can see down here, those are the images that I want to work on. So this is like a collection of images, and you can see that I have the middle one selected. And over here, I can get information, like if I click on like image information, it tells me everything about the image, which phone I used to take it, what exposure, what lens, just information on this image that I have here. I can add tagging information. I can, it's basically a bunch of information about the image. This is also where I go to save the work that I've done to the image. Now, the important part is on the right side, because this is where I add effects. Now, if any of you have Darktable open, you might notice that you have some effects that are pre-installed. So for example, sharpen and orientation and input profile and output color profile. So these are all effects that you could say it's like Darktable added it by default. It just assumes that every picture you have, you're going to need these effects added to it, which is understandable. Now, for every effect, there is an on and off switch, right? So you notice this little power button right here. So that pretty much turns the effect on or off. So for example, this effect that the image come with called sharpen. Let me kind of zoom in a little here. I can turn that effect on or off. Now you're not really seeing you see it, all right, look here, see if you can see the difference through zoom, right? I've turned it on, off, on, off. Do you guys see any difference? Just barely, but what happens is that zoom is compressing the video, so you're not going to see everything. So when this is why I tell you, you have to open an image for yourself in Darktable and see the difference. Now, some typical effects that you normally add to an architectural photo. The first one is one of the main ones, which is you want to straighten your image. Notice how, even though I try to take this image as straight as possible, because I'm taking this with a camera that has a lens, you might notice that, look at this column here. You can see that this column is like slant when you compare it to the edge of the picture. Everybody seen that? This is the edge of the picture here. You guys seen that column?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So one of the first things that you can do with a program like this is straighten the image. Now, if you look here, these categories that you see here are basically categorizing the different effects that you can add to an image, right? And Lightroom has a similar thing. I don't think Lightroom categorizes their effects. I think Lightroom just give you one big bungle of effects. So this first one that I have here is technical effects. What do I mean by technical effects? Well, let me click on it. This is a listing of all the effects that fall under technical effects. A technical effect that I want to use for this is I want to use the I could use that rotate and perspective. So I'm going to turn that on by clicking the little power button right there. And bam, I have turned it on. Now, once I turn on the effect, it will show up in my activated effect listings, which is right here. All right, so now I've turned on that effect called rotate and perspective. So let me go there, and there it is, rotate and perspective. So when I click on this to open it out, what this effect allows me to do, I can set my vertical lines. So notice that I can straighten this up. And to make things even helpful, I can turn on my rule of thirds grid here. Let me zoom in so you can see it a bit more. So notice this is before. Let me reset this. That is my image before. And now I can straighten the image like that. So I have straightened this image. Everybody seen that?
Yes, sir.
That's amazing. Yo.
So now that this image is straight, I'm just going to switch this off. Now, this is only one of like many effects. Now, the next effect that I maybe want to add is, let's look through the, maybe some color grading. Maybe I want to make this image a little warmer. Now, speaking of color, do you notice this interesting looking thing here? It's called a histogram. Anybody have ever seen this graph before?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I see it before, but I don't know. It just look random and it's hard to operate. I don't know how it works really.
Now, whenever you see a histogram, think of a histogram like when you see a program or a device that have a histogram, think of it as the device means business. It means business as it relates to images, right? A histogram is a kind of a technical graph that if you know how to read it, you can tell if an image is okay even without seeing the image. Now, I believe that you guys need to learn how to use an histogram, and some cameras actually come with a histogram. Some phones come with a histogram. How can a histogram be helpful? And how do you read a histogram? So you might have seen histograms before in, like, for example, for those of you who use Photoshop, you might see a histogram that looks, like this. It might be one of these effects here. I have opened the image in Photoshop, and this is also a histogram. Now this up here is also a histogram as well. And to understand how a histogram works, this histogram here, let me start off with a simple explanation of how the histogram works, right? Now I'm going to show you 3 images, and we actually looked on these 3 images before. Remember the images that we download, that we put in what's it called? In Miraboard. So this is our first image. Come on, let's open this here. So that is one image. Remember, that was the overexposed one. This was the one that was underexposed. Let's put that right there. And this was the one that was, just right. Now, what does the histograms for these images look like? Well, let's take a look at it. And we're going to open this in, which program has a histogram now? Photoshop has an histogram. So let's look at this in Photoshop. So we're going to open the first image that looks kind of okay in Photoshop. All right. Let's look at a histogram that represents this image. Can we look on this one? Nah, I want to show you with a curves graph. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Now take a look on this histogram here. And what this histogram is saying is that this end of the graph here represent all pixels that are black. This end of the graph here represent all pixels that are white, right? And this scale here kind of represents the strength of the pixels. Now, when you look at an image that looks like this, that does something kind of like this, on average, if you just summarize the area of the graph, you can see that it averagely spreads out across the black and the white. Think of this as a tabulation. Like, imagine that you could count every pixel in this image and then count the amount of pixels that are closer to white and count the amount of pixels that are closer to black. That is exactly what this histogram is saying. Now, for example, let's open that other image. Let's open the image that is underexposed. All right, so let's see how the difference in this histogram now. Now, when you look on this histogram, what do you notice here now?
There are a lot of black pixels.
Exactly. So you can see that this graph is much closer to the black side. Remember that this side here represents the black side, black pixels. And you have a small amount of pixels that are on the white side of things. Now that makes sense because you do have some white pixels up here. So more than likely this is reading here. But pretty much everything in this image really sums up what is happening in this area of the graph. Now, the interesting thing now is that this histogram, there is no black pixel in this image. If you notice, the graph kind of falls off before it reaches the black zone, which means that pretty much this image is dark, but it is not black. Whereas if you notice on the right side, it goes all the way to the white, which means that there's a small amount of pixels that's fully white, which is really up here. So maybe you're saying, okay, I see what the histogram is telling me. Let's look at one more example of how to read a histogram. So we're going to look at the one that is overexposed, which is this image here. So we're going to open this one in Photoshop. Okay, so this overexposed image is in Photoshop, and let's turn on the histogram for that. All right, now what you notice with this histogram now, pretty much you can see that this histogram is trending in this direction, which means that you have a few pixels that are in the middle, but you know, you have some pixels that are totally blown out. Like you can see, look at the white, look at this section of the graph. It's telling you that there are a couple pixels in this graph that is totally fully white. Now when you look at an image should roughly be dancing in the middle, somewhere in the middle like that. Now you could, if you understand how a histogram works, I could show you a histogram and you can tell if an image is overexposed or underexposed. Now, when I asked the question earlier about the angle of the sun, one person mentioned that sometimes if the sun is in your eye, you can't really tell if the picture that you took is good, which happens a lot. Anybody ever try taking a picture in the middle of the blazing sun and you're trying to look on your phone to see if the picture was taken properly, but you can't tell?
So your phone's just not bright enough.
Right. So you have to, like, you know, the only way to go around that is to look at a histogram. So if some cameras, when you take a picture, it shows you a histogram even before it shows you the picture, because the histogram is a scientific representation of the exposure levels of the image. So if I show you a histogram that looks like this versus a histogram that looks like that, like immediately, if your phone showed you this histogram, you don't even have to look on the picture. You know that the picture is too dark, because you can see that most of the graph is in the dark part, which is bad. And there's only a little bit of the graph that is in the white part. So you know that this image is trending to be too dark just by looking on the histogram. So when you look at an image like this now, you can see this image is pretty balanced. Like, it has dark pixels, yes. It has a few mid-tones. So in the middle here is like the mid, is like the gray. It has a bit of gray, and then it has a bit of bright. So this, and some of the bright even go all the way up. But this, remember, you know, that this area, this is not white. So this is like a gray, close to white. And then, so you know that this is basically a balanced image. So just by looking at a histogram, that is really all the histogram is saying. I don't know if, I'm hoping that this hopefully helps you guys to understand how a histogram works. Right? So if I go back to my dark table here, this histogram that is over here is saying the same thing, but this histogram is divided into different colors. So it tells you for each of the red, green, and blue, you know, if the red is way red, if the blue is way blue, and so forth. So this white area is basically what the histogram is. right? So pretty much this image is kind of okay because it is pretty much settling in the middle part of the image. And that's really how you read it. Now, the reason I tell you that is normally if you want to brighten an image, anybody ever brighten an image in Photoshop yet? Like the image is too dark. What tool would you use to brighten an image?
So, well, I tried this before.
What you use?
So I tried to play with the saturation levels, but it didn't exactly give me what I really wanted. But yeah.
But anybody, okay, you said levels a while ago, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So anybody else mess with the levels in Photoshop to make that image brighter or darker?
Sir, wouldn't it be in the styles?
Wouldn't it be what?
Couldn't you achieve that using like the layer styles?
The layers, say that again, the what tab?
Are they called layer styles?
Oh, layer styles. You mean adjustment layers?
Sir, go back to Photoshop real quick.
Okay.
I usually go in adjustment.
All right, adjustments or adjustment layers. Yeah. What you call the layer styles?
Sir, go to layers.
Mm-hmm. Let me maximize
Yeah,
that.
right there where it says normal and there's a drop down menu beside it.
Where it says what?
Right beside the opacity where you have the drop down menu where it says normal.
Oh. Right. But if you wanted to change the brightness of this image, that's where you would go to change it. Like if you wanted to make this image brighter, dull, or more vibrant or whatever.
Just kind of go through the options until something nice.
Okay. And I heard somebody else say they use adjustments.
Yeah.
Now, some of you might, when you go to adjustments, there is a brightness and contrast. But I'm guessing maybe some of you mess with some options like levels and curves. So for example, the next popular thing that you want to do when you take an architectural photo is to balance out the brightness of an image. So remember, we added rotate and perspective effect. Now let us see if we can do some balancing with the lighting. So we're gonna go over to color, right? And this has now all of the color related effects, right? So before it was technical, that have like where you can change, like you can crop and do like lens correction and all kind of stuff. This one now has things like colorize and levels and curves and all of these things to change the like brightness and contrast of an image, right? So let's say that we added a tone curve. So we're going to add a tone curve effect. So let's go back over to effects now. And here is the tone curve. We're going to expand that. Now, if you look on the tone curve here, let me minimize this side so we can get more space, right? So look at what this, notice the histogram is in the background. So the histogram is saying that this image for the blacks, it has a lot of black areas. Notice the blacks are high and the whites are also high. So that would suggest that this image it have a lot of contrast, which you can see that it does have a lot of contrast. It has some really dark areas, really dark. And it has some really bright areas like in the sky and on this building here. So it has maximum black and maximum whites, right? Not maximum, but high blacks and high whites, right? And when you're editing like the curves of an image, so for example, if I should move up a point here, and I'm going to put back this point on this line. So what this is saying is that my black, remember, this side of the graph is black and this side of the graph is white, always in any histogram. That's always the case. So what I've done here is I have increased the black section of my image. So meaning that when I raise up this point here, look in these areas here, these black areas, I am making my black areas brighter. But the thing is, it's only affecting the black areas. Like look in the sky. Right? So the sky is not the sky is not getting any brighter, only the areas that are black. And I mean, it works for, you can't increase it too much, but it definitely helps because look how it starts to pull back the dark areas in the passage, which is kind of good. Remember, that is the original, and you can kind of pull it back a little. Now, you can't pull it back too much because at the end of the day, there's not enough information. There's not enough light in there to really to reveal what is really happening in there. But it definitely does help. So this is why you would use curves rather than brightness and contrast, because with curves, you can increase a particular area in the image. So usually what you would do with an architectural photo is try, if especially when it have a high contrast like this, you would try to ease up the black areas a little bit so that it's not so black. You know what I mean? And maybe you could pull down some of the bright areas. Remember, the areas on the histogram to the right is the white areas. So if the image is too bright, you can tone down the brightness. So notice that the whole image is going down. But what you can do is, like, you can just pull down. I can put another point here. I can just pull down the brightest point. Now notice when I move the graph now, is only the sky that is being adjusted. Notice, so the sky is bright, the sky is dull. You guys can see that?
Yes, sir.
Right. So with a graph like this, you're able to more control the light and the dark areas a bit more. And that's why I'm saying that you guys need to know to read a histogram, especially if you plan to buy like a professional camera, because a professional camera will have a histogram. And you can trust the histogram more than you can trust what you're seeing on the LCD screen of the camera. Because remember, the camera LCD screen, it might be dull, just like your phone. Your phone might not be able to show you how bright an image is if your surroundings are bright, like in the middle of the day. Or if you're in a pitch black room and your phone screen is too bright, an area that is white, you might perceive as too white, but it's just because your phone screen is bright, not because the picture itself is bright. So this is why you would trust a histogram, because the histogram actually tells you indeed that area is too bright or not too bright by you looking on this graph. Anyway, so I'm able to adjust this histogram like that, and that's great. Let's see if there's any other effects that I want to add. Let's see here. I could add a vignette. Anybody know what a vignette is?
It's that dark thing around the image, like a dark.
Exactly. So But before I add a vignette, let's add a crop. So I'm going to go back to the technical view and I'm going to add a crop. And the crop is basically, well, most of you know what it is. You're basically cropping the image. So let's say I want to come in a little bit on the right. Let's say I don't want to include too much of the balcony. Let's say I want to cut off a little bit on the left. Like that, maybe like that. All right, so let me close that up. So I have cropped in the image. So you can see these are the list of effects that I have added to this image. Now, the great thing is that you can save these effects as like a preset, and the next image you just apply them to it, which is great. Another one would be, and if you don't remember the name of the effect, you can just type it in. Let's see. Noise. Right. Now, look at some of these areas. I don't know if you can you see the noise in this area? Can you guys make that out, or maybe a little bit? So for example, you can add like a denoise. Where would I find that now? Here it is, denoise. There might be, okay, let's try raw denoise. Turn that effect on. Oh, is that on already? Denoise on. All right, let's look at denoise to see. And oh, this is interesting. So I guess this, let's see where it's moving. I've never used this one before. Oh, actually, wait. Let me reset. Reset this. There we go. Here it is down here, strength. All right, are you looking at this noisy area here? Let me look at this noisy area here. So let me increase, oops. So let me increase the strength of the denoiser. You guys seen it getting smoother? Are you seeing it?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So that is a denoise filter added. So in some of these areas that is a bit noisy, like some of inside these areas, the noise is now reduced. In some cases, it might be good, and in some cases, bad. Now, there's other little things you can do. For example, suppose you want to increase the vibrance of the image, like you want to make the blues brighter and those things, then you could vibrance. Maybe it's not called vibrance in this, it's called something else.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between vibrance and saturation?
That is a good question. For those of you who might use Photoshop a lot, saturation is like, there's a terminology in computer that's called brute force. Brute force just means, how you put it? Meaning when you increase the saturation, it will increase the density of every pixel on screen. But when you increase the vibrance, it will increase the saturation of certain pixels and maintain the saturation of the majority the majority tone of the picture. So what do I mean by that? It's a bit tricky to explain, but you can see it better. So for example, I don't know if this would give a good example. Let's see. The best example that shows this is when you're dealing with like skin or soft tones and things like that. When you increase the vibrance, everything increases. The yellow get more yellow, the blue get more blue, the green get more green. But when you increase the vibrance, only certain areas. So like, for example, look, the blue gets more blue, but notice that the yellows don't blast out and get more yellow. And that's because this image has more yellows, so it's not going to blast the yellows, or rather it's going to blast the yellows the least because there are more yellows in the image. But saturation will just blast everything 100%. Yellow get more yellow, green get more green, purple get more purple, and so forth. Did that explanation answer? Right. So for example, and that's why it's always better for you to increase your vibrance, because when you increase the vibrance, it doesn't just blast everything to 100%, but rather it will give a subtle blast to the majority color in the image and a major blast to the minority color in the image. So the blue going to get full blast, but yellow is going to get half blast. So that would be the difference between the two. All right, so there are a ton more effects, but I'm not going to add more to it. I added a denoise. Oh, I wanted to add a vibrance. Okay. Colorize is pretty cool. Let me see if this is the same thing like okay, no wait, let me just pick a color. Oops. Okay, reset. Oh Lord. It's not, or is it color zones? I'm trying to find okay. Guess what? We have more things to cover, so I'm not going to do a deep dive in this. But once you have balanced the image and do all of the effects that you want to do, then you would need to go to export, and you would choose whether you want to export as a JPEG, and then you choose export here. And then what it will do is there we go. What it will do is it will create a folder that's called, Darktable, and it will place your modified image in that folder. So that was the after, and this is the before, I believe. I have so much of these windows open. Let's see. I hope this is there. All right. No, not that one. It was this one. So notice this is the original one, and this is the one that is edited. So notice that the image is much straighter. Look at these dark areas here. We managed to get rid of some of the dark areas. We managed to get rid of some of the noise. If we wanted to, we could like boost the clouds to be more blue. All of these things we're able to do, and we don't have to go into Photoshop to do them. We can just do them directly from a program like Darktable or Lightroom or one of these programs, right? So I'm going to encourage you guys to, whenever you need to do some quick edits to your photo, especially if you're going to present them or publish them, you don't have to jump into Photoshop. You can just jump in Lightroom and do some quick modifications. In this case, I just added a sharp, a perspective, a denoise, and a curve, and that was it. You can add a little bit more if you want. There are some really cool ones. I can't remember them now because I don't normally use this one. I normally use Lightroom, or sometimes I just jump into Photoshop. All of them really does the same kind of thing. Okay, any questions? Check out Bloom. Let me turn on Bloom. And what Bloom does is kind of give this glowy effect. So you can, of course, you can turn it down. I mean, that's turning it up. Are you guys seeing those effects?
Yes, sir.
So Bloom kind of adds this little shimmer to the image. Let me turn it off and on so you can see it. So this is with it without bloom and with bloom. So you can see it just add like, it's kind of like when you squint your eyes in the sun because the sun is so bright. You understand? All right. Okay, guys. So that is Darktable and doing some basic image editing. I hope you guys use some of these when you're doing when you have to take your images for your urban study. All right. Now I want to show you guys the last thing for today.
Before you move on, so you're saying you put the three images, those three images together. So you're saying Darktable could actually get the same effect that you would get from actually putting these three images together in Photoshop?
Yes, it can do that, but you would have to, these three images that you take, chances are you would have to use a tripod, because even though they look similar, your hand actually move a great deal. So the feature that will do it automatically, it's going to be off big time, because your hand has moved in slight ways. So if you're going to take it with a cell phone and do that overlay, you would need to end up going into Photoshop and compensating for where your hand move and move back the image to line up back perfectly. Unfortunately. But like what professional persons would do that have like a professional camera and a tripod, they would set up the camera and a tripod and just take like 5 pictures, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And some of them is like dull, medium, bright, very bright, overexposed. And because all of them the camera is perfectly still, all of them are basically the same image. Those images, they could just carry them in a program like Lightroom and so forth, and then it can pull the darks, pull out the bright from the over-saturated images and pull out the darks from the dark images and merge them together. And that is like really cool. But you need to have like perfectly steady images. Definitely perfectly steady. Or else it just going to come out like a smudge. You know, or like you're seeing doubles. You know what I mean? Anyway, but that is a bit of an advanced feature, right? So we won't be diving into that. I just wanted to show you some of the basic features. When we're done, I can show you some images that I use that process to do. And so you can see the effects of taking an image like that.
Sir.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was saying slightly after that, but what you call the thing again? The histogram.
Histogram. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Would you use that as it pertains to, like, let's say in Photoshop, and you're trying to put an image on another image? Is that what people use to have? Like let's say you want to Photoshop like a tree in a picture of a building. Is that what you use to have that tree have the same lighting? Would you like imitate the histogram of the original image to have that tree look the same?
You could, but for that purpose, I don't think they would use a histogram to primarily to do that. Maybe they would use a histogram to check, but to do that, they would more use what's called selective color, where you want to, like, you take a sample of the color of the tree. So let's say the tree is green, but the grass is green. Or no, let's say that the tree that you put in is green and the tree in your background is also green, but it's 2 different type of green. So you want to know what shade of green is the background so that you can match the new tree to that shade of green. You really would have to sample the two greens, and then you try to make the two greens look similar. You know, that is where you would start to solve that kind of issue. Your histogram is almost like it's not something that you, well, let me not say some people watch it religiously, but it's something that does immediately inform you that, hey, your picture is too bright. Like, it is almost like if you glimpse and how it should be, if you just glimpse your histogram and you see it looking a certain way, it's like you know that you have to retake the picture. It's just that most phones don't really show you a histogram, but like most cameras, professional cameras, as you snap the picture, it shows you a histogram and you can already see, oh, I have too much dark areas in this image. It's going to cause a problem. You don't know how much, or if it's, you know, it's like it just give you a preview. It's like a scale. You know when something too heavy, you don't know how heavy it is, but you know when it's too heavy. You understand?
Yes,
right.
Right.
That's really all the histogram is kind of doing for you. All right, so what we want to go into now is we want to go into a little bit of motion, because remember that their third assignment involves you going out there doing the ninja walk. And as who was it now? Was it Janelle? No, it was Kalena that says she tried the ninja walk and it wasn't as easy as it sounded. So yeah, so I have some footage here, and guess what? The footage that I took is not with an iPhone, so I have no stabilization help whatsoever, right? So I am simulating the worst case scenario. I have a Note 8. The Note 8 does have stabilization. However, do you guys remember any of the tips that I told you to try and get smooth video? Anybody remember those tips?
For slow motion.
Aha. Now, most phones, once you turn on slow motion, or rather high frame rate, stabilization will be disabled by default, because the phone can't handle so much things. I don't know about the iPhone. I think the iPhone does the same thing. So you either record normally and get stabilization if your phone has it. But once you go into a slow motion, which means that you're recording at a high frame rate, the phone is going to disable stabilization, or the camera. Usually it does it. It just can't process things so quickly. Or once you go like 2K or 4K, usually stabilization is normally reduced or disabled because the phone is struggling. All right, so let's look at some footage that I took here. So this is one here that I took of the same playground area. This was earlier today. So I was trying to get a kind of a, what view am I trying to get here? Anybody? What's this cinematic camera called? Oh, sorry, let me turn on back optimization for video so that you guys can see the video a bit more smooth. All right, you're seeing it smoother, right?
The slow motion, like you're saying that slow motion is the best quality our camera will catch a video on our phone, or right?
No, slow motion, you can use slow motion to kind of compensate for the camera shake, right? If you turn on slow motion, which means a high frame rate. So if you capture video with a high frame rate and move consistently, not too slow, but not too fast, and do the ninja walk, you can compensate for not having video stabilization a little.
Okay, so all right.
If you have video stabilization built in on your phone, then don't enable slow motion, because slow motion will cause it to be disabled. You understand? That general rule goes whether you have a phone or a camera. The general consensus is that the processing power of the device can only handle so much and no more. So, you know, you turn up something else will have to turn off to compensate and blah, blah, blah. All right? Or you can have high frame rate and slow motion, but you have a gimbal, a nice gimbal that will absorb all of those movements. So there you go. Something have to compensate. You need to have another device. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was captured in slow motion, but notice that it doesn't look like slow motion. Right? Now, the reason I said this is because, remember, slow motion means high frame rate. So this video was actually captured at 240 frames per second, but it is playing at normal speed. So you're not going to see a difference between 24 frames per second and 240 frames per second for a video like this. It's going to look the same. But where it will look different is when you slow it down, which is the next thing we're going to do using the next professional software, which in this case is going to be DaVinci. All right. Okay, let's look at some more clips. This one is also interesting. This is kind of I guess you could call this a reveal-ish. It's very short. What about a push in? Let's see. I know I did one of that here. Let's look at this one. Oh, hold on. Where's there? Oh. Does that look like a ninja walk?
No, sir, not at all.
But I guarantee you, I was ninja walking. I was very much ninja walking. So I'm going to abide by what Kalina says. It sounds easier than it is. Here is another push in again. I promise you, I am ninja walking. I am not walking normally. And if I was walking normally, this would be a much more horrible video. This one was also an interesting one as well. This one here. This was a pull-out that I did. So you can kind of imagine how this would be used in architecture. This, for example, it could be like a detail. Maybe there's an interesting detail in the roof. Think about like the Norman Manley International Airport, where you have those interesting connection and joints. Let's say it's a part of the architecture that you want to highlight. It could be a railing or something, you know. So these could be ways that you could highlight these things. All right, so notice what you're seeing here is a bunch of clips, and this is what chances are this is what your experience will be like when you go to capture your footage. Just like with pictures, always try and capture multiple takes. Chances are the third time is the charm, right? Here is another reveal. I think I did 2 takes of this. All right. So now we have our clips. Let us fire up DaVinci and let's see how we can put this together. Does anybody have the program downloaded or installed? Anybody? Nope.
It's terrible, but I need to do when I get that I don't do. So
Say that again.
I was just saying, sir, I used to have a terrible thing, like, I had to delete it because I downloaded Adobe.
Oh, Premiere. Okay. No. All right, cool. So if you want to use Premiere, you can, as long as you can find similar features to help you out, right? Okay, now, so when you open DaVinci, this is what you will see primarily. You kind of greeted with this welcome screen. I'm going to say new project, and I'm going to call this physical camera. Oops. Assignment practical 2, P2. All right. So the first thing you do is create a project. Now, when you're using DaVinci, it's kind of divided into these main categories, right? And when you look down here, you will see these main categories. So these are pretty much the main features of DaVinci here. And it is set up in a way that you start from the left and you proceed right. So what does that mean? Meaning you do this first, then you do that, then that, then that, and that, and so forth until you get to the end. Now, definitely, we're not going to do all of these steps. Pretty much, we will do this, then we will edit the video. We may correct color, that's optional, and then we're going to save the video. Now, these other features are more advanced. So, for example, you want to add effects, explosions, a green screen to make it look like you're like in Paris or Japan. You want to cut out the green areas, you want to do special audio effects, change like the pitch of a voice and all those things. You would go into much deeper options. But we're not going to do that. All we want to do is to stitch our images together so that we can, submit our project. Or in the case of doing your study tour, you want to perhaps string different types of video recordings together. Now, just like Darktable, there might be footage that you collect that you need to edit, right? Just like with the images that we straighten the image and we reduce the noise and we do all those things to images. We might want to do the same thing to video. In particular, we want to stabilize the video. That is perhaps one of the number one reasons why we would want to even use DaVinci. We want to stabilize the video and we want to stitch the video together, right? And this is where programs like, iMovie or what's that other one called? Like the Windows video editor, they are going to definitely fall short of doing that. Programs like Premiere Pro, Vegas Pro, give me another one, Final Cut Pro, all of those should be fairly similar. It's maybe just a matter of maybe the availability of them and whether they're on Mac and PC. Anyway, so DaVinci is 100% free, and some of the advanced features are locked away and you have to pay for the Pro version. But trust me, without the Pro version, it is a heavy hitting software. It is just like a Premiere Pro combined with After Effects, combined with what was that audio one called? I don't remember. Right. It's all of that wrapped up in one. Now, even though we're not going to go through all of the settings, all of the properties, we're going to do some. So we're going to start at stage 1, which is here, right? And we're going to work our way across as we go, right? Now, the first thing we want to do is browse to where our clips are and pull out the clips that we want to use. So that is really what DaVinci is saying at the beginning. Say, hey, organize yourself first before you start to edit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to browse to the location that I have my pictures at. So that is here. Computing, AC2. Oh, no, I think not there. So it's here. There we go. And I have my stuff in a lot of subfolders. So I'm going to dig and dig. Advanced computing modules, computing, AC2, lecturer, and presentation, post-production. There we go. So as you can see, I had some videos that I captured, I had some photos, and I have some cool music that I'm going to give to you guys, which are all copyright free, so you can use it and put it on YouTube or wherever. It's all yours. All right, so I'm going to go to video, and this is where I can see all of the footage that I collected. And with DaVinci, I like this little thumbnail that you can actually scrub across the thumbnail to preview the video, or you can click on it and click play to see what the video has. Here we go. So that was another interesting view. And basically what you're doing here is you're just kind of choosing what images you want to use. This one was good. Let me see. See this one? What do you guys think of this one as a reveal? Can work?
Can work, sir.
Okay, let's grab that one. Now notice that it's telling me that the frame rate is different. And remember, even though the video looks normal, remember that I captured it in slow motion, which means that I captured my video at 240 frames per second. And this project is moving at the normal 24 frames per second. So it's asking me if I want to change my project to match my video, and I'm going to say no, because I want to keep it at a high frame rate. All right, let's look at some others. This was a tilt down.
Sir, I like the rotate one for the joint.
Oh yeah, for real. Let's grab that one. Let's see. I believe it was. Okay, I think it was this one. Now, some of them I captured in slow motion and some I didn't. So if I wanted to check to see if this was a slow motion one, I could click this little icon beside it, and you can see where it says frame rate, 240 frames per second. So this is definitely in slow motion. Because remember, normal frame rate is 24 frames per second or 30. So this is 240. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab this so-called ninja walk one. I guess it's alleged ninja walk, right? I'm going to grab that one as well. So remember, the objective for you guys is that you want to remember you need to do everything on that cinematic camera list. Now, some of them you might want to combine. So for example, this might be a reveal and a pull out at the same time. Maybe.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, you can combine.
Yeah.
You can combine. It's not illegal. Let's see. Oh, that one was inside the slide, but that was weird. I don't know if this one is any good. Maybe not. All right, I think we can go with that. Oh, this was actually a tilt down, a tilt up. One was a tilt up, one was a tilt down. Let me see. That's okay. All right. Now, what we want to do is, I wanted to grab one more. This one. Actually, maybe, I guarantee you, I was ninja walking. I tried. There was one here that this one and this one. This one was kind of interesting. Remember this one? I kind of went from one side to the other side. Let's see if that can work. And let me check the frame rate. Yep, it's good. All right, so let's grab these. Now that this is taking care of the first step, which is taking your clips. Now we're going to skip this step here, which is cutting your clips. We don't need to do that. We're just going to jump straight into this step, which is editing the clips. All right. So once we're over there, this is what the interface looks like. And it's kind of similar even to Darktable, even though it's two completely different companies. In this zone here, we have our effects that we can add. This zone here is where we had those clips that we picked out that we want to use. Down here is our timeline. So that is what we're going to render out as our final video. And over here is our properties. Think of your properties like you're using Revit and you need to change the height of a wall. You would go into the properties to change it. So if you want to change like the brightness of maybe not the brightness, but if you want to move or zoom into a footage, you want to edit properties of the footage, you would do it on that side. All right, good. So the first thing I want to do is let's grab our footage for here. That's what it looks like. Now, one thing that you might notice is definitely it's not as smooth. Now, this is one of the advantages of using DaVinci, because we have a lot of tools that can help. Now, the first thing we want to do is let's get rid of the audio, because this is audio and this is video. Actually, I'm going to change the properties so that you guys can hear the audio. I'm going to change, because Zoom is not capturing the audio from DaVinci, so I'm gonna change.
Sure. Which type of audio you use? MP3, wave?
I'll use MP3.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Hold on a second. Right. So now if I play the video, you guys should hear the audio. You're hearing this audio, right? You guys heard that?
No, sir.
No. I mean, there's no talking in there. It's just like maybe
I
birds.
heard it, sir. I heard it.
Right. It's just like,
it's not a sound, it sounds.
right. It's just like background noise. All right. Now,
Pedro, are you sure you wasn't playing that from Sir's mic? Like right now, his mic, or is the video you heard it from?
Oh, let's try again. Let's try again. Here we go. Right. So I'm also previewing this as well. Where's the audio? Oh, here it is. Oh, yeah, I am getting audio. All right. Anyway, we'll know when we add the background music. Okay, so what we want to do is remove the audio track because we don't need the audio. We don't need the audio from this camera footage. So I'm going to right click it and say unlink. And then I'm going to right click the audio and say delete selected. So I'm just left with the video footage. Now I can zoom in and zoom out of the footage. So I can zoom all the way out or zoom in. And this represents the time that the footage will take. So you can kind of see my time bars up here. So this is 1 minute and, am I right? No, that's not 1 minute. That's 1 second. Are these minutes or ticks? Let's see. Yeah. Right, this is 4 seconds actually, right? So 5 seconds is about here. So this video is almost about 5 seconds long. Now it's a little shaky. So the first thing that we want to do is slow down the footage. And we can do that using our properties over on this side. Now to do that, we're gonna click on the footage and these are all different properties that we can edit. So for example, we can change like the position of the clip, the zoom, the rotation, I'm going to reset those. So those are all properties under transform, and then cropping, we can change like crop it left or crop it right, so that's another set of properties, and dynamic zoom and composite, and all of these are different properties that we can change for this selected clip. Now, what we're going to be editing is the speed. And because this is captured at a high frame rate, I can actually slow this down. So we're going to slow it down maybe by 50%. Now, when we 50, oh, right, there we go. So now when I play this, it looks a little smoother, but I notice that the clip gets longer now because naturally I made it twice as slow, so hence the clip is going to be twice as long. Does it look smoother to you guys?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. That's a little smooth. All right.
I actually saw the chain actually moving.
Yeah, plus the chain is moving, so that makes it tricky. Now, in addition to slowing down the footage, so slow motion does help a little, but the footage is still moving a little. And this is where one of DaVinci's cool feature comes in, which is stabilization. So remember that your camera has a built-in, well, some of us camera has a built-in stabilization, and that's really the best primer to use. Then now DaVinci can come with a second layer of stabilization. But for me, I don't have stabilization, so I have to depend totally on the built-in stabilization of DaVinci. So when I open the stabilization options, I have some properties here that I can change. So I can change like the smoothness and the strength and all of this stuff. And stabilization has to be calculated per footage. So I'm going to increase the smoothness a little bit, and I'm going to choose stabilize. And then notice now that the footage has to be now processed. And you can imagine the longer the footage or the more resolution or frames, then the longer this process will be. So, and done. All right. Now notice when it's stabilized, I lose a little bit of the footage because the video is trying to compensate for all of the handshaking that I've been doing when trying to capture this footage. All right, let's play this and see how it looks now. Any smoother? It gets a little bit weird at the end. You can see that jumping at the end.
So why is the sky jiggling like
Right, so the first part is definitely smoother, that's for sure. But the last part gets a little weird with the sky. So you know, this is where these properties come in. So maybe what I want to do is let's increase the smoothness, let's decrease the strength. Sometimes the strength is a bit too strong and it causing it to do some weird stuff. And let's click stabilize again. All right, let's see if this works any better. All right, that looks pretty cool. All right, now for the main meat of the matter, let us try to fix this failed ninja walk that was done here, right? So let me play this for you. This is what it looks like. All right, so we're going to do the same thing again. I'm going to make sure that I'm on the selection tool and I'm going to unlink the audio and right click, delete the audio clip because we don't need the audio. This image is a little bit dark because of the same issue where outside here has sun, inside here is dark. So the camera is fighting between the brightest and the darkest pixel. And this is the result of that. So when things like this happen, I would have to, maybe I would just wait till the sun goes down a little bit. So out here isn't so extreme. You know, sometimes you really have no control over the environment. So, or maybe I would just have to change this shot altogether. So, but anyway, what we want to try out is the stabilization. So we're going to do the same thing again. Let me make sure that we did capture this clip at, where is it up here? Right. This clip is, yep, it's captured at 240 frames per second. So what we're going to do is we're going to slow it down again. So we're going to go over to our settings areas and we're going to go to speed change. That's the one property that we're going to use. And we're going to slow this down by maybe, let's try 50% again. So now this footage will get longer because it is now twice as slow. Let's play it back. It is kind of slow. Maybe too slow. Yeah, definitely too slow. So maybe 70%. Let me see. Yeah, but definitely the shaking is quite horrible. So this is what it looks like to have no stabilization. So let's see if DaVinci's software stabilization can save us. So let's go to stabilization. We're going to try the same settings. Let me try to maximize the smoothness and click stabilize and see what we get. The more shaky the footage, the longer the computer is going to take to calculate the counter movements to stabilize the image. So let's see if this image is indeed a little bit more stable. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see now. Hey, that's pretty smooth. You guys see that?
Yes, there is a noticeable change.
Yeah. All right. Stabilization to the world. Okay, great. So now we're going to attach this footage here. So far we have two footage. We have something that goes like that. And then it switches over to something that goes like that. Now, I'm going to cut this footage a little short because I kind of stopped at the end. So I don't want to, I want it to, I'm going to cut it a little short. And I'm going to do the same thing for this, cut this a little short.
So are you just holding the side of it to cut it, or are you using a tool to do that?
Good question. I am just holding the side. So I'm just gripping the side and carrying it inward. And that is making the footage itself shorter. So there we go. Because, you know, remember I slowed down the footage. So, you know, these don't need to be longer than 3 or 4 seconds. So let's make that a little shorter. All right. All right, then I'm going to attach this there. Let's grab one more. What about this reveal? And this reveal was okay. Oh, wow, it's horribly shaky. Let's see if the same trick works again. So let's play the original. Well, let's get rid of the audio first. Let's unlink and delete the audio. All right, let's see what we have here now. This is no stabilization, ninja walk, reveal. All right, good. All right, so let's click it and we're gonna slow down the speed. Let's slow it down by maybe 70%. Then we're gonna go to stabilization. Let's max up the smoothness again and hope for the best and click stabilize. That one was pretty quick. All right, let's see what we get now. Nice. It did that little weird stretch thingy, I guess. Yeah, it did that little weird stretch thing. I guess yeah, there it is. Like let's turn down the strength or something and recalculate that. See if it will help us any at all. I don't know. Maybe. It's
So
less.
you lose some of the smoothness you had just now.
Maybe, yeah. Well, guess what, guys? This is why I want to see. Let's increase that a little bit. The only way to test this is really to try it yourself, because as I say, you might do the ninja walk and you think that everything is good, and when you look on your footage, you're like, oh Lord, this is horrible, right? All right, so we're just going to use that as is. We're going to shave off a little bit of the front. All right, so we have 3 footage here. Let's carry it to
No,
the
so why you shave the front? The front was like the best part.
Let's see. So, and it jumps to that. Yeah, kind of. Well, yeah, you're right. Let's get back some of the front. Now, notice what I can do here. If I try to drag this left, it is going to override this footage here. So instead of moving this down to drag this out, what you can do is enable this tool here, which is kind of a smart shifting. So what it does is it will push, or it should, I guess it doesn't in this case. And turn it on. It doesn't. Well, it does it sometimes. All right, it allows me to pan the clip within this segment. Okay, I guess that can also work. See, but it does allow you to, when you move the clip, it shifts down everything for you and shifts it up, so you don't have to do so much movements and cutting. All right, so I'll go from this to that. It's not bad. All right, now notice also that this clip was taken with a different resolution. So I have these black borders here. So I would need to crop into my shot a little bit more. So I get rid of these black borders. So I would need to click on this footage here. Click on this footage here and then go to transform, and I would go to zoom and kind of zoom in a little bit like that. So now it fills the frame. All right. This footage is all right, and that footage is all right. All right, I think we're good to go. Now we just need to add some titles. Remember, part of the assignment, we need to add the name of the view, and we need to add some background music. So let's add the background music first, right? Okay, so I did give you guys some music. Oh, actually, I don't think I had shared it yet. So let me share that for you now. I'm gonna I'm going to just copy all of this and put it in the, I'm going to put it in the folder that, that is shared on the class website, right? So when you go to the assignment section and you scroll down a little, you will see some files. That's where it will appear. So I'm going to share this with you. By the way, you are welcome. I did pay money for these songs and they are copyright free. So
Thank you for spending money on us, sir.
I tell you, yeah. All right, the physical camera, here we go. Here we go. All right, so when you look on the class site, you should see these. All right, let's take a listen. Let's see what we have here. Let's try marimba. Hold on, it's not playing in Zoom. Change that.
So we were hearing it.
Yeah, but I think you are hearing it through the speakers. Let me see. Yeah, you are hearing it through the speakers. So let me play it directly in Zoom. All right, let's go again.
Oh yeah, we're hearing it good now.
No, that's okay. That's okay. What about this presentation music, acoustic? That's okay. Relaxing. Presentation music, country, pop. Okay, cool. I remember we did last year. All right, let's try my favorite. My favorite is which one of these? Epic intro.
Yeah, so this one I have a vibe. I'm feeling this one.
You feeling that one? Okay, wait. Which one? So we tried that. Epic intro, outro. That was which one? Intro, full version. Let's see this one. Oh, that's the same thing. Okay, cool. Pop music intro short. Let's try this one. Ooh. All right, this one is pretty cool. Maybe I should take it out of the folder. Just kidding. All right. I'm going to use this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to DaVinci and go back to the, remember that first tab that we went to choose the footage. So we're going to go back there and browse to music and which one was that? I think it was pop intro short. Let me check it. Yeah, that was it. All right, let's grab that. Great. And now we're going to go back to the editing tab. And we're going to just drag that down here like that. Oops. Like that. All right. Now, the good thing about this is that you can kind of see where the music beat changes. Can you see the wave beats here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So a good idea would be to kind of line these up like, let's see, maybe I could make this a little shorter so that when this beat comes in right here, it drops right there, and maybe make this a little shorter. This one here a little shorter, like that. Hopefully that sounds good. Let's just end this right here. And then also there is transitions. So let's talk a little bit about that. Right now, the transitions we have, let's take a listen and see what we have. All right. Definitely, it would be a bit better if we transition on that beat and then transition this on. Let's make this a little bit shorter. Oh, we have to push this in a bit. No, let's turn this off. We have to push this down a little more. I think somewhere right there. Let's see if that sounds a little better. Yeah, let's see how that sounds. Oh, that's right on the beat. Yeah. All right, not bad. All right, so now we didn't visit the transition section, which is over here. So in this section, it's similar to the properties section, where you have all of these transitions. So for example, if I kind of hover and leave this between two videos and kind of hover, it does preview it for you, right? So here it is. It will kind of preview what the transitions look like. So this is blur dissolve. Then this is cross dissolve. All right, so it kind of previews that for you before you apply it. Oh, this is interesting. Smooth cut. It looks like a wobbly kind of. All right. Let's minimize that. So that is dissolve, and then you have iris. So you have this arrow thing and this other thing there and that thing there. Let's see what else you have. You have barn door. Ooh, that's cool. Maybe barn door kind of fits this transition. I don't know. Let's try it out. So we just need to drag it over here. And notice you just want to drag it in the middle. And then we have push. And then we have slide. And let's try a push for this one. Sometimes, these are a little bit clunky. Let's zoom in a little bit. I can use the zoom bar over here, kind of zoom in so I can see what's happening here. Here we go. Let's try to push here and see. I think this clip needed to come down a little more, like right here. All right, let's see how this sounds. Hey, the push looks pretty good because this is kind of sliding out, so it kind of matches with it. What do you guys think?
Agree.
Okay. All right, we're almost there. We just need to add some text. And if we scroll down in the effects list, all of these are all transitions, still transitions. Some of them get kind of crazy. Look at this bubble one. Ooh, I kind of like that bubble one. You know what? Let's swap that first one for this bubble one. Let's see. Yeah, let's try that bubble one. That bubble warp looks pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Now, if we continue scrolling down, we get to the text section, and you can see, you can preview the text that it has right here. So we can find something that is nice-ish. Oh, that's pretty cool. Sample text, right? So this one has like a major title and a minor title. You can kind of see that. So it could be like, you could put, maybe you have Diane Sukal at the top row, and then you have maybe ID number below, You know, you can edit these things depending on what it is that you're doing. Okay, that looks cool. That looks cool. Which one of these do we want to pick? Drop in. All right, we could try to drop in. All right, let's try to drop in. And we're going to drag that up here. So notice this is kind of like a layering system now. So we can see where we have the text on top of the video, and then we have the
So,
audio.
sir, I saw just now when you're trying to drag it in, you could have dragged it onto the video itself instead of in its own line.
True, you could. But we don't want to do that. We want it to go on top, right?
So what is the difference?
Because now the video is on top. Now the clip, the text is on top of the video. So this text here is on top of this video.
So it's like layers, sir?
Right, it's just like layers. So if the video was on top of the text, so for example, if it was like that, then you wouldn't see the text because the text is behind the video.
No, sir, I thought you could have dropped it in the same line with the video.
Oh, if you drop it in the same line like that, then you will have text only, then video. No, sequential.
Oh,
right.
okay,
So you want
okay.
it to be on top of the video. There you go.
So, sir, all the text comes in automatically with as having like a transparent background.
Yep. Yep. And guess
Okay,
what?
okay.
Just like how you could click on the video and we moved it around, we can also click on the text. We can edit the title of the text. That's right here. So it says sample. So for example, this would now say, what is this now? This is a pull out reveal. All right. And then on the settings, we have, we can move it around. We can change the scale. Let's put it, maybe we should leave it here because it's white. Let's see. Pretty cool. Reveal. All right. And then we could have it like it, we could make it end right there. And then we could have a next text. We have this cool bubbly effect. And this next text now we could just copy this text effect here, or we could drag another one. But you don't want to use, just like how you don't want to use multiple fonts in a design, it can look kind of quirky. You don't want to use too much effects in a video, it can look kind of quirky as well. So I'm going to use this very same effect by right-clicking copy and right-clicking a blank space and choose paste. And it's supposed to paste. Oh yes, there it is. So now I have the same text effect here that's going to say the same thing, but I don't want it to say pull out. So I'm going to click on it and go to title and change it to, this is what now, a push in. And we definitely want to move that from the center because it's white. So we're going to just maybe position it maybe to the, maybe in the center. Maybe that can work. Let's see. Yeah, let's put it in the center and see how that works out. Yeah, because it's this central kind of vibe here. Then the last one we have is this. So maybe we can try and see how it works to have another text effect that does a slide, to make things look a little bit interesting. See, this does this fade thing there. That's pretty cool. Let's scroll down a little more. That's a fade. That's a fade. That's okay. Here is a little kind of side wiping thing here. So let's drag this text out. And for the last one, that actually looks pretty cool because it's in the green. Maybe we should move it over a little bit more just to kind of make it stay in the green because it's a white text. And we can call this reveal even though we have 2 reveals, we should really have 1, but you know. I'm going to move it down a little. Down here, so you know, it really shows up with that green text there. All right, so let's save. You know, we don't want to lose all this work, so let's save project. And let's see what we have thus far. Let's hit play. Nice. All right. What do you guys think?
So by the third text, I hear this kind of sound. Yeah. Just before that. Is that
you hear the what?
Like a whoosh sound, like actually open a door.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm wondering if that's the music itself or if that's part of the transitional.
It's the music. I remember we remove all the sound from the original camera clips. Okay, so now we're wrapping up now. So we did this. So next we want to move to this. And this one here is optional. This is basically the same camera correction, image correction. So if we move over to this tab here, you will notice even more histograms and some weird looking ones as well. So these are actually histograms. It's the same kind of thing, but it's kind of turned the other way. So what this is saying is that this area here is the white and this area here is the black. So if you can see, what this is saying is that, you know, the image, look at this area up here. Basically, this is saying that the green gone, so the greens have clipped out. They have moved beyond white. The blues have moved beyond white. The reds have moved beyond white, right? Because you can see where it's basically moving outside the edge of the graph. And definitely you can see that in here. It's saying that, you know, all of these pixels here basically is gone beyond. It's pushing beyond white and you're actually losing detail there. So just like before, what you can do, you can adjust the levels just like before. But the way that I would say to change, like this clip would be the problem clip. If I click on, if I click on this clip here, same thing, this clip. Okay, this clip is kind of okay. Look at how it is. The red, blue, and green, everything is basically inside. There's a little bit of this area here gone outside the white zone, which is probably maybe like this corner area here. But most of this graph is within the main part of the graph. So that's how you really read this thing. And you can see it also has another histogram here as well. So histograms all over the place. I mean, you know, but now you know how to read it. You know what it means, right? So this image is kind of okay. And notice that this is a video. So when you move, you will see the histogram update for every frame of the image. So the really problem one is this one here because it's just really bright. But here is really dull. It's a tricky one. We can't really do much about this because if we dull the image outside here, we're going to get really dull and it's just life. But when you are doing your image, if for example, let's say you had this image here and you wanted to brighten this generally, what you would do, you could use the levels just like what we did before. And remember how this works. This side here is blacks and this side here is whites. So if you push up the graph in the black area, am I right? Yes, in the black area, let's pull this back down here, right? Well, this is really clipping out here. Let me tell you a good way that you can adjust this. Instead of using the levels graph here, use this option over here. This one here. And you can use these bars to kind of lift the image. So notice that the image is getting brighter because the graph is trending more towards the white. Right? So if your image is too dark, you can use these values to kind of bring it back in the middle. If it's getting too bright, you can use this to kind of bring it down a little and so forth. So this is how you would color correct a particular video, you know? As for this one, I don't know. We could lift the black areas a bit more. So that would lift out those areas, and we could carry down the white areas a little bit, which doesn't really help because you don't want outside to be too dark. So the most you can do with this is lift out the black areas so that at least these areas here are no longer pitch black. Everybody can see that?
Sir, don't you think that the black kind of makes it look more dramatic?
You know, that could be also the case.
I was thinking the same thing.
Hey, guess what? It's your video, it's your style. You can do it however. You can even animate this, like it can be going from there until there. But anyway, I just want you to know that this tab here is how you do color correction. It's optional. If you don't need it, you just skip over it and go to the end, which is saving the video. So when you click on this end tab here, this is your final video. You're going to choose what format you want it to be. So right now it's on QuickTime. Preferably you want to choose MP4. I have nothing against Apple, but you know, it's just more compatible MP4. And you want to choose what you want to save your video as. We're going to call this assignment 3. Where you want to save it, by default, DaVinci saves stuff to your My Videos folder. So if you don't like tell you where you want to save, that's where it will go. After you set these settings, then you want to click Add to Render Queue. It's going to ask you to tell me where you want the file to be saved again. And I will say, I want it to be saved here. Here is fine. In the My Videos DaVinci Resolve folder. You know what? Let's save it to the desktop. Let's save it to the desktop. Save. All right. And then you will notice that once you do that, it will pop up over here to render. So you can actually line up multiple jobs, and then you just hit the render button one time and it will render out all jobs. But in this case, we only have one job, so we're going to choose render all, and then we wait for it to render. And there it is. There it goes. And we're done. So let's take a look on that now. If I go to my desktop here, and let's preview this video for you guys. Okay, what's happening? All right. So what do you guys think? Gonna give DaVinci a try?
Pretty cool.
All right. So
Let me see the file size.
the file size, it's not bad. What does it say here? It is, put that over there. It is 100 megs. Uh-oh. So
Yes, sir. Give us the leeway on this.
This is very uh-oh.
Because my normal phone, when I video it, like the
Oh.
megabytes that it come with just off for the video alone is pretty high.
No, man, here it is. Here it is. See it here? Quality best. So you just need to like knock that down a notch to like high. And I'm sure you can go below 100.
Sir, you don't mind getting some 240p videos from us then?
No, man, that's too low. I'm sure you can fit. Okay, I will increase it to like, I don't know. How about 200? I'm confident you must can give me a video less than 200 megabytes.
I can live
We'll
with
make it work.
Right. If it going to go over, just put it to YouTube, but I'd rather you upload it. All right. All right.
So, sir, what if we send you the bad quality one and then we link the good quality one on YouTube?
I don't believe you will have a bad quality video that is going to be 30 seconds long. That is less than 200 megabytes. No, I'm confident you must can give me a video. That's 1080p HD, not 4K, you know. Not 4K. I don't need 4K. 2K is fine. All right. So I mean not 2K. Sorry. HD is fine.
We would have 30 seconds to do all of the camera tricks.
No, you can take any amount of time. I'm just estimating each clip is like 5 to 3 seconds. I don't think it will reach 10 seconds. You know, you're doing about 7 the most. Some of them you might combine a reveal with a tilt up or something. So you might not even do 7. So this is like a 15, 30 second movie. Right?
No promises.
All right, but that's pretty much our class for today. So we learned a little bit of how to touch up our photos professionally using something that's a little bit better than your default photo app, but not as far as Photoshop. And we'll also learn how to do that with video editing. And we know that DaVinci can help to stabilize our footage when it's a bit rocky. If your footage is already stable, then DaVinci will make it even better. It's 100% free. It's a little big. I think it's about 1 point something gig, but it has so much features built in. So if you don't have Premiere, definitely give this a go. You definitely don't need an After Effects to do this assignment, please. That's like way too much. You just need, but you need more than an iMovie or a Windows Movie Maker. You know, you need more than that. So DaVinci is really maybe it's like the sweet spot. Premiere Pro, DaVinci. If you use Vegas, there was one person that used Vegas in the first session. That's fine. Okay. All right. Whew, that was a full session. Wow. But anyway, this is just one of those sessions that takes a little while, right? We will talk more about the deadline for this assignment, but pretty much I advise you to use the study tour to capture your clips. And hopefully when you capture a clip, don't only think about computing, also capture clips that you will actually use for your study tour as well. All right.
All right,
so
sir.
It looks like I'm going to see you week after next if the date don't change again. So until then, good luck. I will use the time to mark your assignment too. All right.
All right, sir.
I'm having difficulty adding audio.
Adding what?
Audio, like a song.
Oh, when you drag it in, it's not working?
It's not accepting it. When the
It's probably
first part,
because, and it's MP3?
yes.
It might be it telling you that the format is not supported.
It's just not coming up in the pool thing.
You mean when you go in the first session?
Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. All right. So for the rest of you guys, good night. I know that it's late, so take care. I will see you week after next. All right. In the meantime, so Enato, you say is it all audio or just that audio?
That one, and yeah, it's just that one.
Let me stop this.